Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here, and we're going to be going over all of the standard legendaries and talking about them, seeing which decks they fit into, whether or not you should craft them, should disenchant them, get that extra dust to make the decks you want to make. We already did our Sunken City legendary guide, so if you're just looking for the new cards and which ones of those are good and bad, I would recommend checking out that video. This one's going to be covering all of the other legendaries just in the standard set. Keep in mind, we'll not be going over the core set stuff because that should just be free for you guys. These just, you have them, period. So obviously we'll skip those. So first things first, Demon Hunter, Final Showdown, it's its quest. While quest at Demon Hunter may not be super popular right now, it always pops up being like one of the best decks later on when more cards are put into the set and it gets more draw, and they can do some really good things with the discount and of course the quest rewards. So very good card, would not recommend disenchanting. Lady sent those part of the Sunken City. Core set, Purchase. I don't think this card is very good right now. Even when he originally came out, he wasn't like a card you'd actually play in your deck. You'd get him off of the studies most of the time, and he was good off there because he was always going to be outcasted. But for the time being, not really played right now and not found in any decks, and I can't see a good reason why you put him in any decks. Metamorphosis, part of the core set, of course. We have the Fell Soul. She's part of the big Demon Hunter package, which currently is not really a deck because they got rid of Pit Commander. They were basically removed all of the decent big Demon Hunter cards besides the Reckless Sigil. So right now, big Demon Hunter was always kind of a joke. So again, she's not really that great at all. Do not recommend crafting her. Virtuous the hero, really good. You basically put this into any Demon Hunter deck and your deck's automatically better. Death Speaker, this is found in the Death Rattle Demon Hunter, which is again not really played too much right now. I think it's a pretty good deck. We already made a video on it. It performed fairly well for us. Very easy, very straightforward deck for you new players, intermediate players looking to play a DH deck. If you pulled this guy, he's like really good in that deck, but again, only found in the Death Rattle DH and nothing else besides that. Sunken City Colossal, we already went over him in the previous video. And then we have Jace. Definitely would not disenchant this guy. As more fell spells get printed in future expansions and mini sets, this guy will get better and better. And even then, he's already played in some of the DH decks at the moment. So definitely would craft him if you're interested in fell DH and almost any DH besides the aggro one that's being played right now. Taking a look at Druid, Lost in the Park. Quest Druid is kind of a meme right now, but I think it's actually really good. I'll be posting a couple Quest Naga DH videos very shortly, and I recommend checking those out before making a decision on this because I think it's one of those hidden gems that nobody is playing. Guff, Rune Totem, this guy is a meme. I don't think he's really found in any deck, nor was he ever a staple in any deck besides like Drekthar, aggro DH at one point in time for like a week when you'd combo off on turn like 3 or 4 with this guy with blooms and whatnot. But yeah, you don't need this guy. Fandrel's part of the core set. Plague Maul the Rotting is just absolutely awful. This card like literally never saw play in anything ever. The Wing Commander, I used in a couple decks for a little bit there. He was decent, but again, you don't need this guy whatsoever. Guff, you absolutely need this card if you're playing Druid. Almost any Druid deck runs this. He's just the best card like ever for Druid. Lady Anacondria is found in the Celestial Alignment Druid, and that's basically it. If you're into a very combo Druid-like style deck, which is on the rise right now, Celestial Druid is seeing a lot of play. She's one of those cards that she sees no play at some points, and then some points she's like the best card in the Druid deck with Celestial Alignment. So it's kind of up to you, but she's really only found in that one deck. The Druid Colossal, we went over him. Heretic, we went over her. Stenaris is, of course, core set. And then the Moon Tree is this guy was, even when like Cenarian Ward and all that was in the game, this guy still didn't even see play. And that's just because he's too slow. His stats are bad. And especially now with Druid having, I don't want to say a lack of draw. I mean, we still have Nourish and Miracle Growth. Like he's just not good. Take a look at Hunter. Quest Hunter is one of the best decks you can play right now. Definitely would not disenchant the quest. Nazjin, we went over him. Tavis Stormbike, this guy is just horrible. He's never seen any play whatsoever. Houndmaster Shaw is core set, so everybody should have him. Kodobane, while he is a very good card, sometimes in the Quest Hunter and of course in Face Hunter, he's not really seeing much play right now at all. Face Hunter got overtaken by the aggro DH. And then if you're going to play Hunter at all, you're playing Quest DH, and you don't really need to run this guy because you have just other spells that draw you cards rather than a minion that draws you cards. So Kodobane, not really seeing a ton of play right now. The Rat King, as cool as this guy is, I loved playing him in Death Rattle Death Rattle Hunter and things of that nature. Even in Big Beast Hunter, he can make a move, but he's not necessary in those decks at all. And he's not like a core package. He's more of just a fun package. So definitely don't need the Rat King. Beast Stalker Tavish, very good, very good, very good. Found in basically any hunter deck that you're going to want to play. Hydra deck, we already went over him. King Crush, part of the core set. And then the Wing Commander, again, some people play him in their big hunter. For me, I think you can get around playing this guy. I don't think you need him. I think the new Sabers kind of do what this guy wants you to do, and he's very expensive, and you have to have board. And a lot of the times when you play this, you already have a bunch of death rattles out and things of that nature. So again, very only found in a particular hunter deck, and that hunter deck is you don't have to run that guy. So taking a look at Sorcerer's Gambit, again, Mage quest. Most of these quests you're not going to want to disenchant. The quests will just be better as more cards get printed. Even though this used to be like the meta-defining card, one of the best cards that you can play, and one of the top performing decks, it sees no play right now, but that's not to say, you know, the mini set or the next expansion isn't going to make this playable. I would hang on to like most of your quests. We went over the Naga, Varden. Again, I like to play this guy in my Freeze Mage. Freeze Mage isn't really a popular deck nor a deck that people are playing at all. I think this and Shatter, this and Blizzard is very, very good. If you're a fan of Mage at all, I would keep this guy. But if you have no intention of playing any sort of Freeze Mage, which is basically the only deck that you'd slot this into, or maybe a Control Mage just for the, you know, the freeze that he gives for that one turn, and that's kind of up to you. Personally, I would keep him. Guardian, I love this card. I play her in my Naga Mage just because adding spell power to your Nagas, because you run a lot of minions, is super, super good, and they discover spells, and just adding +2 spell damage. She's already decently statted, and she's basically like forever value. So again, I would go on to the whole Varden thing. If you play Mage, you like Mage, you'll play her. But if you don't like Mage, or if you just don't, she's not really slotted into any popular Mage deck. She's more, again, of accessory like the Rat King is. So that's going to be up to you. I personally like her, but you don't really need her. Stonehearth, really only found in the big Mage, only really found in the big Spell Mage, and it was popular for some time at the beginning of this past expansion and the later end of the last expansion. She's more of, again, a fun card. You don't really need her, but she is very, very, very fun. Dawn Grasp, if you're playing any Mage deck, you're playing this guy. He's very, very good. Would not disenchant. Gaia, very good mech. We went over him previously. Grand Magus, this guy sucks. He's just horrible. Hala, we actually built an OTK deck with Hala in the previous expansion. It was really fun. Probably, again, not as good as Muzaki Mage, but this is a really fun dragon. You'll never need him, though, at the moment. You can just like run the Dragonfire Amulet, and then most of the time you're going to get at least one of these from it because it's a Mage dragon, and it prioritizes the class dragons over neutral dragons. Mordreth, this is only found in the Ping Mage. So if you're playing any form of Ping Mage, whether it's Control Freeze Ping Mage or the Naga Ping Mage, this is going to be an absolute staple for you. I would not disenchant this if you're interested in Mage. But again, if you don't play Mage at all, you don't give a shit about Mage, you don't need this card, obviously. I think Kaligos is part of the core set. Everybody should have him. Heading on over to Paladin. This is one of the quests that, I think the only quest that's just terrible. It's never been good. It's always been a meme. We built quite a few off meta decks so that it's fun, but no, by no means would you ever need this card. Lightbane, we went over him. Scarlet, I think this is a really good card in a buff deck. Currently, again, not really found in any of the buff decks, but I do believe this is a decent card, and a lot of people don't play around it, and this guy gets buffed up very, very easily. So if you're a Paladin player, you like buff decks, slot him in there. But if you're playing a Paladin and you're not playing a buff deck, you don't need him at all. Carol Romay, very, very good. If you're playing a Paladin deck, you should just play her. Cannon Master, originally people thought this guy was going to be insane because Secret Paladin was a very good deck at one time, and they were like, oh my god, you could turn your secrets into 3/3s and then you get your secrets back, but he ended up just being terrible and almost never seeing any play, and that's still to the point to this day. High Lord, 6 mana 5/5. He basically has never seen any play in any deck that I have ever seen. I've given him a go in many of the decks that I've played. While his ability is insane and very, very powerful, even Divine Shield Mech Paladin doesn't even run this guy. If that gives you a good indication of how slow this legendary is, and how much he does not see play. I do think he's good, but he just doesn't see play. Lightforge Cariel. you're playing Paladin deck, literally any Paladin deck, you're playing this card. She's an auto include. She's literally what's carrying Paladin right now. She is the best. So if you're thinking about her, already have her. I mean, you just got to keep having her. Leviathan, very good Colossal, one of the best of them. And we already went over him. So Ragnaros, part of the core set, and Tyrion, part of the core set. Again, core set cards are free. Priestess, we already went over her. Seek Guidance. So this is a very specific legendary put into a very specific deck for a certain reason. Right now, Priest is basically the worst class that you could possibly play. I've seen a lot of quest priests out there trying to make this work and be annoying like priests are, and it just doesn't work. So I don't ever think this will be like a meta deck unless Priest gets some absolutely super giga amazing control cards. But yeah, this is very, very slow, not needed, and I don't think any Priest deck that's going to be good is going to run this card. Bloodfeather, again, I've seen this card played. It was sometimes played in the aggro, like Shadow Priest, but like, you don't need her. She's not a staple. Hexen, very cool control card. Very even, I saw him played in aggro as well. Very unique. You can run this with silence. You take your opponent's minion, silence this guy, and they won't get their minion back. But is no means an absolute staple or even used in any priest deck right now. Paying 4 mana for like a mind control with then you need a silence and your opponent needs a decent minion is a lot to ask for. So Zorelia, though, is a very, very good legendary. You absolutely, if you're playing priest, any priest, you're going to want this card in your deck. Dark Bishop is only found in the Shadow Priest, and you have to have all shadow cards or shadow spells in your deck to make them work. Shadow Priest, again, was one of the best decks, best aggro decks, quite some time when Mind Render was doing its thing. But it lost a ton of cards, and I have not seen a single Shadow Priest since. So if you want to hang on to this because you have hope for Priest, you like Priest, I'm sure they'll print more Shadow cards, and I'm sure Shadow Priest will pop up in the later expansions just because that's the way it is, but there's not enough cards that currently make him very good. Lyra's part of the core set. Literally I haven't seen her yet, but I know she's super good. Pure Light, very value-centric card, obviously played in Quest Priest. So if you're thinking about any control priest, you're going to want to keep the quest and you're going to want to keep the pure light, and you have infinite shards. So you guys know how it is. I'm not a fan of it just because of how slow it is, and it's very, very annoying. But if you like priest, you're obviously going to want to keep it. The Behemoth, we went over him in our previous Sunken City Disenchant, and we have Morzond, again, part of the core set. Zorelia, if you're playing any control priest whatsoever, or even Death Rattle priest, or even Silence priest, you're probably going to want to play her. She's very, very, very good, and she heals you for a ton. So if you're a priest player, obviously, or interested in priest, you want to keep her. All right, SI or Quest Rogue. This was a very, very good deck for quite some time. Again, I have literally seen 0 Quest Rogues since the expansion. I'll probably try one out very, very soon. I think it's very good. I think it's pretty underrated right now, and I would not disenchant this card. Masquerade is part of Thief Rogue package. Thief Rogue got nerfed when Null got nerfed and all that stuff. It could have been good. They nerfed it too hard, and unfortunately, I think she's pretty bad. Vanessa's part of the core set. Hebram, just terrible. Even when Weapon Rogue was a really good deck, he still didn't see play, and that's because you don't get to pick the toxins you get from him, or the poisons, and you could get ones that you just really don't need, and the fact that you have to pay for them is just very slow. You don't need them. Edwin, very, very good. Pretty much you play this in any rogue deck. There's no reason not to. Scabs, he was found in some earlier builds of a bunch of the Thief decks, and sometimes even the Weapon decks and Death Rattle decks. He's an accessory that makes the deck, I guess, maybe a little bit more buttery, but you don't really need him whatsoever. Fleet Runner, they could have made her really good, but they ended up making her trash, and she's not needed in any deck that you're going to want to ever build. Crab, we already went over them. Hook Tusk, we already ran over that. Scabs, unfortunately, this isn't even like a good card anymore. You can play it in your rogue deck, and sometimes it may help you. As a rogue, it's a very tempo-centric class right now. You're going to want to kill your opponent before turn 8 anyway. If you're going on to the later stages of the game, Scabs, while it may buy you an extra turn to live, it's just not what it used to be at 7 mana, and Rogue doesn't have the draw and the discounts that it had with like Secret Passage and stuff to really make this guy shine. It also had like Cloak as well to keep him alive. So unfortunately, Scabs, not really one of the best. If you're looking at Rogue right now, you're thinking of like Quest Rogue, Scabs is good. But if you're playing any of the like Pirate Rogues if you're playing any of like the Pyro Rogue stuff, you don't need him right now. So I'd hold off on him until maybe more Rogue stuff gets printed. And if he becomes good again, sure. But right now, he's really not that good. And then Tess, part of the core set. Looking at Command the Elements, this new expansion got absolutely 0 new overload cards. Not a single overload card was printed that would make this deck any better. While I do still think that Quest Shaman is good, I do not believe that you want to craft this because there's just cooler, better decks you want to play. These quests are going to be rotated next year, so you only have a year with this card if you end up crafting it. So again, I would hold back just like Scabs. If they print more overload, the card becomes good, sure. But at the moment, the Quest Shaman deck that you'd play is the exact same Quest Shaman deck that you would have played prior to all these new cards coming out. And I prioritize playing new decks and new cards over playing the same decks that existed in previous metas. Bolinar, really, really good. You want to play him in a lot of your different Shaman decks. He basically is a second Brand, and Brand is really good right now. Firemancer Flurgle, unfortunately, never really saw the light of day. They moved all the Murlocs to Warlock this expansion, and Flurgle has never really been that great of a card. Cookie the Cook falls under the same thing. You don't really want to put this in your Murloc deck because you want to have like Doomhammer out and other weapons that just deal more damage. You don't need Lifesteal if you're playing an aggro Murloc deck, so you basically would slot this into like Control Shaman. So if you're playing Control Shaman, which isn't even a deck right now, he's pretty good, but like you don't need him whatsoever. You have other healing options. We went over this already. Brokon, again, you would look at this and be like, oh my god, this card looks insane. You know, 4 mana 5/4, spell damage +3, and originally he was pretty good. I played him in an OTK Shaman deck, and he was all right, but unfortunately, I've never seen a single player ever play this card against me ever. So I don't think you need him at all. The Frog is part of the core set. The Bear. So as cool as this card looks, and I've tried to play it in a variety of different, whether it be Freeze Mage, Burn Mage, Freezer Burn Mage, Control Shaman. Oh, my bad. I keep saying Mage. I mean Shaman. You just don't need him. He's just too slow. There's better things you can do, and there's just better stuff. The Colossal went over him. Alikir is part of the core set. And then Brokon of the Elements. In my opinion, I don't find a reason why you would never play this card in any Shaman deck. He's just too good, right? Like a lot of these hero cards that they printed, it's an auto include. Whether you're playing even an aggro deck, a mid-range deck, or a control deck, it just gives you late game value that cannot be replaced with a single card like this. You play this against a lot of different decks and you kind of just instantly win in some points in the game. So I would definitely not disenchant that and craft it if you're interested in Shaman. Taking a look at Warlock, Quest Warlock. I have not seen any single player play the Quest against me since the new expansion. They've nerfed this and all of its pieces that make this deck good into oblivion, as they should. The deck's very powerful. However, yesterday's stream, we actually played a Quest Warlock, and it was performing really good, and it was very, very nice against Control Warriors, Quest, Priests, and even aggro decks. So while it may not be good right now, I'm working on something spicy, all right? So I would not craft this, but if you have it, I would hold on to it. Tamsin, if you're playing any Warlock deck ever, you're going to play this card. It's just stupid value. Being able to copy your shadow spells and make them 0 mana is just so very good. High Priestess, this card's core. Phylactery, found in Owl Warlock and Bomb Warlock. If you like those decks, you like this card. You don't like those decks, you don't like this card. I wouldn't disenchant it, but it's really only found in 2 different Warlock decks, and neither of them are good. Naru Fireblade's a meme. You don't need this card whatsoever. Dayquil, we already went over him. This guy, even in the Quest Warlock now, even in Handlock, the draw is just not what it used to be. So having a full hand isn't as easy as it once was with stuff like Backfire and things of that nature. So I don't think this guy's good anymore unless Warlock gets a shit ton more draw. Dreadless Tamsin's one of the only things holding Warlock together in terms of draw. If you're playing Warlock, you absolutely need this card, whatever Warlock you're playing, you just need this card. Very similar to like Cariel and Paladin. Gigafen, we already went over him. Drax is part of the core set. Taking a look at some Warrior. Raid the Docks got nerfed for the 2nd or 3rd time now, and people are still having a lot of fun with this deck. It's still winning with it a lot, so I would not disenchant this if you're looking to play any sort of Pirate Warrior or even Control Pirate Warrior. Just putting this in the deck and getting Captain Rockthera just instantly wins games. The minion Rockthera used to be found in Rush Warrior. Currently, it is not found in any Warrior, so you do not need that card. Crowley is part of the core set. Lady Ashvane, I've been trying to make this card work, surprisingly. Been playing like a weapon warrior. I've tried different versions of it, whether more control, more aggressive, more pirate-oriented. You don't need this card. This card's a pile of shit. But, you know, it does fit into weapon warrior, which is a shit deck. Captain Galv. You can play this in your Control Warrior if you'd like. I like it in Control Warrior. It's a good amount of burst. People don't expect it. It's also found in Charge or Combo Warrior. A lot of people are playing it, having a lot of success with it. And it's a different take on the Control Warrior without Kaz and whatnot. You just run this and Faceless Manipulators with the Battlegrounds Masters. A lot of damage there. So I would definitely keep this card. Very, very fun. Very, very good. Crash, not found in any warrior deck right now. It was found in Control Warrior for quite some time. Very good card. But unfortunately, there's just better armor gain. You can just run Frozen Buckler, Shield Block, Heavy Plate. There's a ton of shit floating around, right? And Lothar is just bad. Nelly, you absolutely need this card if you're going to be running any sort of Pirate Warrior and or Control Warrior. This card's absolutely insane. Like, crazy good. Sour Fang was good when Kresh was good because, again, Frenzy. And there's also the Frenzy Pirates that draw cards. But there's just better stuff you can play right now. He's not good, and I don't think they'll be printing more Frenzy stuff. So this card is basically just going to get worse over time. Rockthera, if you're playing any warrior deck at all, you want to play this card. She's good. And Hellscream's part of the core set. Taking a look at the neutral legendaries, we have Ivus. This guy is only found in Druid, really only played in Druid, and he's really, really good in Druid. So if you're interested in Druid, you want to play this card 100%. This is part of the core set. This you should get for free. Jackson, this card is absolutely just horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Snorlax, this card we used to be played a decent amount, is currently played in 0 decks. You do not need that card. Bran, part of the core set. We like that guy. Dungaree, I like this card. I play him in my Quest Warlock deck for the 10 healing. He's quite spicy, but do you need him? The answer is no. Mancrick should have been free. If you didn't get him for free, sucks for you. I'm sorry. But yeah, he's a good card in basically any aggro deck or any deck that draws very quickly. Looking at you, Demon Hunters. Right now, Demon Hunter or aggro Demon Hunter is one of the best decks in the game, and he is found in that deck. Zola, core set. Ambassador, we already went over him. Blade Master, we already went over him, and you should have gotten him for free. Samaru, really only found in Paladin. He was found in Priest when Apotheosis was around, but not anymore. If you play Paladin, you're going to want to play Blade Master, but even then, you can work around it by playing like mechs and stuff. Drekthar. I could go on about this. This is meta-defining card right here. Everybody's playing this card in their aggro DH deck. He's obviously very, very good. I'm expecting them to nerf this probably soon, to be honest. And not a fan of the decks that he's found in. So it's up to you if whether or not you're going to craft him. But he's found in a particular decks like Naga DH, and they're pretty good right now. Elise, part of the core set, so you don't have to worry about her. Kazakus. This card was really, really good when it came out. You would just not play 4-drops. You'd give a 4-drop with this guy, and you get a good 5-drop. Right now, the meta is like really powerful, right? So like the shit that you get off this guy doesn't like even matter. That's just not. Somehow he's just not even good enough anymore. So Korak really only found in Death Rattle decks, and even then dealing 5 damage to something right now is very, very easy. Like I don't think this, even with he has to die by honorable kill. There's just some decks that can just like sweep the floor with him. You don't need him. If you like Death Rattle DH, he's pretty good, but you don't really like. If you like Death Rattle DH, sure, you can play him, or you don't, and it's fine too. Vandar, should have got this guy for free, and you should have got a Daimon for free. So, yeah, but if you didn't somehow get this card for free, I wouldn't make him because he's not found in any good deck. Stormcoil, we went over here. Runethak is part of the core set. Queen, we already went over here. Again, when I say when we already went over here, I already made a video covering all of the Sunken City legendaries, guys. So if you're wondering why I'm not covering those, it's like a other video. It's like 9 minutes long. It'll be in the description of this and at the end of the video. So Shadow Hunter. This was an additional tech that you could play alongside Mutanus. So if your opponent's playing a combo card like Kaz or like Owllock, you'd be able to pull some important cards from their hand by selecting a card on the battlefield. You could have also played him in big decks. You would pick your own minion and then summon another big minion. Currently, he's not found in any decks. While he is a very cool card, he is not a card that you currently need. Fordring. People play him in their mage decks to guarantee they get more Dreth. But even then, people are doing the more Naga package. You don't really need this guy anymore. He's kind of slow. Draw is important, so maybe in the future he's a better tutor for other cards that you'll need. But right now, there's no deck that really plays this. You don't really need him. Karen is part of the core set. Cornelius. You looked at this card and it's like, wow, this card's really good. But then like you play him and you're like, oh shit, I might outdraw myself, or he's just very slow. While this card may look really good, he's not really found in any sort of deck whatsoever. Lady Prester. This was found in a really interesting Druid deck that was played for a couple weeks there at the end of the last expansion with Guff, and you change your whole decks to dragons, and you tutor him with like forging. There was a lot of things that one of the uses for forging was to get her. But right now, I have not seen that Druid deck at all whatsoever. Smite, if you play Pirates, the answer is yes. Reno, part of the core set, should have been free. Baron, part of the core set, should be free. Battlescar, absolutely not. You don't need that guy. Mutanus, ooh, he is a juicy boy. If you like any control deck whatsoever, you put this guy in, your deck is better. As of now. Nor's Dormu, absolutely not. He's part of the core set, so you have to have him, but you don't need him. Goliath, absolutely not. You don't need him. Kazakhstan, this is up to you. He's part of the mini set. He's very good in certain decks, and those certain decks being control decks. If you're interested in any sort of control priest, control warrior, ramp druid, anything like that, he is very, very good. Varian, only really good in one deck, and that's Paladin. Right now, he's actually being slotted into the buff mech Paladin for the additional draw, and I've seen some people cut radar detector. So if you like Varian, I would slot him into your Paladin decks if you're playing that, and she should do pretty good. Alex Draws is part of the core, of course. Malago is part of the core, of course. All these are core. And I believe the only not core cards we have here is the Ice Lord. You don't need this card at all. You just, he looks good, but he's just not. I used to be played in, like, I played him in Big Druid, and some Warlocks played him, and I've seen some Druids play him, but by no means do you need to play him. And then Raid Boss, she's really good in any sort of control deck. Again, you want to play her Control Warrior, Druid, Priest. She's just good in a bunch of different decks if you like those more control-ass decks. But again, she's not found in any like aggro deck whatsoever. But she is a really great card. Very annoying and tough to deal with. So with that, that's our full standard legendary disenchant guide. Again, I made this because you guys told me to, and you liked our original one for the Sunken City. So I'm glad you guys did, and I'm glad to be able to provide this to you because you gave me your feedback. So with that, as always, I'm Robert Warshack, of course, and happy whatever the hell day it is.